You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network. Visit pencilandpaperproductions.podbean.com to find more great podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to, I guess, what we're still calling Super Mini Crash Pods.
Sure.
Because that's the only name
really
that's really come up with at this point. Maybe next week we'll have something. I don't know. I mean, this is just what we're running with right now.
I say we just name it something different every time.
We could do
Keep
that.
People on their toes.
Okay, so this week we are Ultra Mega Smash Pods.
People. And
it just sounds a lot bigger than it is.
It really does.
I mean,
because we're already done. Have a good day, guys.
Yep. See, it was that simple.
Quick and simple. Nice and neat. Yeah.
I love it.
And if I sound so far away, I apologize. Like, my microphone arm broke, so I had to leave it sitting on the desk, y'all, or else I'd keep moving and you'd hear it click. So
I mean, this is a follow.
I don't actually know.
This is still connected to last week's conversation about, you know, the troubles, the woes of Lacey Finley.
Nobody knows the trouble I feel.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows my sorrow.
Do you also think of Spaceballs?
Do I think you are? Oh,
No,
do I think of it?
Like,
oh.
you know the movie? Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Because I always think of that with the princess sitting there and you just hear this, like, real manly voice and then they look through the thing and it's hers.
Very good, yeah. No, it's not the first thing that comes to mind, but I can see why, yeah. I remember it.
Yeah.
I have connections.
My brain works.
Well, it's fine. I mean, that's your connection. I'll sit there and quote The Simpsons all day, and people look at me like I'm nuts because they have no idea what I'm saying.
I'm not caught up on that.
Yeah, it's just it's in my lexicon.
It's like 30 years of content to remember. So unless you've been with it from the start, that's daunting to catch up on.
But I will say I only pull for the first 10 years. Okay, kind of in that area.
Okay.
Because I've tried, and I guess this is what do you call it? I don't know. My brain's not working. Anyway, I'm trying to get through. I haven't watched all 30 seasons, I'll admit. Okay? They've got them all on Disney Plus. I have gotten in and around 16, maybe 17. I'm not 100% sure. And when I watch them, I'm like, it's entertaining. But
yeah,
I'm not getting this elated joy out of it like I do when I go back to the early years, because I say right now, without question, argue, fight me if you want to, season 4 of The Simpsons is the best season. Fight me. Okay?
Wow.
Because when I was rewatching all the episodes, I just noticed that each episode was solid. There's maybe one episode out of the entire lot that could be the weakest episode out of the lot, but the entire season, in my opinion, solid. Every single episode. Memorable, quotable, everything. Top notch. That's just my opinion. And if you have an opinion?
well, I will try to watch 4 then.
Yeah.
I do not, because I've never watched enough of it collectively to even know what season I was on when I've seen it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I have no idea. I never got into it that early. And then there's no way I'm going back to 30 years, 31 years, however long now it's been. I'm just not going to do it.
No, I understand.
I can't be arsed to go back and watch Breaking Bad, and that's considerably shorter. So.
Sure. I mean, it's if you've never really gone and watched it, I wouldn't even say. I mean, it's not a show that hangs on continuity or serialization or anything like that. Every episode is just random, but I feel like it's a common thread among fans, people who watch the show, that the first 10 to 12 seasons are the best, and then they just start slowly declining. I'm not saying that there aren't a few gems here and there in some of the later episodes, because I can think of a few that I've always enjoyed, but those first 10 or 12, so good.
Do you feel like that's a demise of a show that's just lets go for so long? Like, I imagine it's got to be so hard to keep coming up with story through lines or story
Right.
arcs or even one-offs for 30 years, man. Because they haven't gotten older, right?
No.
Like, they're still children and baby and, like, they're just, like, in purgatory is what it is.
Yes.
Like, what more can they do? They're like, I have been 11 for 30 years. I'm not allowed to get out of school. I'm never allowed to marry. I'm never allowed to live life.
And for that matter, I mean, from what I've seen, I think they've even rewritten some of their history. So if I'm aware of the early years and how an event happened, and then you come into some of the later, and they're like, well, hey, this is actually how it happened. You're like, no, wait a second. I remember an entire episode dedicated to this one thing. What the hell are you talking about? Plus, they're having to keep up with the years. And they'll make sly jokes every now and again, because I remember Homer making some joke. He's like, and from now and whatever year this is, and then just continue on. That's a good joke. But
Is there whatever? Yeah, exactly.
at some point, they have to stay up with the times. So
Right.
Bart was born in the 80s, or initially, but it can't be now if you're keeping up with the years. So if you revert
Huge
back to
difference.
that, he's going to be in the 90s or the aughts or however
Sure.
you want. So it's frustrating. But if you want some solid television and you feel up to it, season 4, I would even say season 3. Season 3 is good. And the bookends to season 4 are also good. But if you just want to jump in head first, season 4. Go for it. I guarantee you will
Yeah,
laugh.
I feel like the first 3 seasons, I'm not going to be like, I don't understand what's happening here.
You don't need to know. You'll figure it out
No.
as you go along.
I feel like it's even with like Family Guy. You can pretty much just watch any episode on its own and you're caught up.
Yeah.
Especially lately, I feel like they're all just like, here's a one-off.
Yeah, here's the
I
thing
feel
that
like
happened.
very much so the last 2 seasons have been very much a, here's a weird thing I've concocted in my brain. Let me make it an episode
Yeah.
of Family Guy.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been around a long time too.
Sure.
Granted, they had a little break. We thought they were canceled for a while and came back.
But it's
That all speeded
amazing
up.
to think about that. I think they are up to season, I think they just finished 18, season 18.
Yeah, it's something crazy. I was going to say close to 20. If you put them all together, I think.
And I don't know why it never connected the dots, but I was like, shit, it has been about 20 years, hasn't it?
It's been a long time.
I feel old. Why? I have this.
Why are we old? Is that
No,
what you said?
I feel like I have this disconnect to time now, where
Yeah.
when someone says, "Hey, can you believe that this is 30 years old?" I'm like, "What?"
Well, in my mind, like, still 30 years ago is still like the 70s.
Yeah.
I'm just stuck in that mode, and that's just how life is. So when people tell me it's been like 50 years ago, I'm like, you're a liar.
Yeah.
Why would you bald face look at me and say these words? That's hurtful. And then, no, yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. And the older you get, the faster it goes. And I think that's unfair.
Yeah. And everything that comes out in the 80s, when a kid of today has no idea what I'm talking about, I just look at them like they're stupid. But
How do you not know this?
but I should also try to put myself in those shoes and think, did I know something that was 20, 30 years ago? Did I know movies from the 50s when I was their age in the 80s?
Well, I would push back on my end just because I was one of those people who was the oopsie baby. I know, you and I have talked about this. I don't know if I've ever talked about it. Like, there's a 20-year gap between me and my next oldest sister. So I was 100% like not a plan. You know, my 3 sisters were out of the house. One was married, already had 2 kids. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I actually did grow up knowing all that kind of stuff because I was born to older parents who was into, like, John Wayne movies.
Right.
Or, you know, Pillow Talk, I remember, with, like, Doris Day and Rock Hudson. Like, so I watched all of those things because that's what my mom and dad enjoyed. And what do you do as a kid? You watch what they have on the TV,
Sure.
right? Or Mama's Family was one of my favorite to sneak and watch because they used to do a double at 9 o'clock. There was 2 episodes. They do back to back. So, like, I feel like I would have,
Yeah.
but I understand I grew up in a very bizarre way, I guess, because I was kind of like an only child. I didn't have them around.
I don't think that's too far-fetched. I mean, I will say that...
It happens, sure, but 20 years is a pretty good gap, man.
Yeah.
I have a niece and a nephew that's older than me, you know, like, who that's not common.
No, yeah, I understand.
I would imagine, you know.
I mean, I would say, kind of in a similar vein, my parents did very much the same thing. Of course, I was very drawn to film and things like that, so I soaked that in, so I knew who actors were. I knew these older movies. And I even remember, I think, as I got older, maybe somewhere in my 20s, I had mentioned something about an older movie to someone, my senior, you know, maybe 20, 30 years. And they're like, you don't know nothing about that. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Like,
I used to
I'm sorry,
shock people with that sometimes, too.
Yeah.
I gravitated towards older people for friends, too. Maybe I was just a little bit more mature and then dematured. The older I got, it's weird. Like, I feel like I was probably more responsible and put together in my late teens and early 20s than I'm so close to being to now.
Yeah.
You know? Like, adulting, nobody tells you what it's really like. I still don't think I am. I just know I'd get tried like one for anything illegal I do.
Sure. So, I had something that was on my mind now that we're kind of talking about film. And I'm hoping you have some input on this because I was reminiscing today. And I don't know why. I don't know why I did it. I just, you know, they were there. So I went through some old videos, just, you know, of mine on YouTube. Stuff that happened a year ago. And I can't believe it's been a year. And for whatever reason, it brought out, it made me remember how much I enjoyed doing those things. The main thing I'm focused on here, I guess, is what really spurred it on was Porter and Ale. I was just watching the opening that I put together, hearing the music, seeing the faces, seeing the laughter, seeing the joy.
Yeah,
and I
miss it too.
And I was like, what happened? And then what's funny is I went a few episodes ahead to where I was doing the solo act, where I actually was just having a vent session because I had that terrible incident. If you haven't seen that episode, by all means, go watch my
when you tried to like cast somebody? Oh yeah.
But I listened to that rant.
I still tell that story to regular strangers that you don't know. I'm like, I got a story to tell you.
I got one for you. I got video proof.
You do.
Yeah. But what was funny is I reflected on the frustration I had at that moment and how I was just like, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm like, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was just curious as to why a year later, I don't feel like that. You know what I mean? Like what, because I know I've had those moments. I know I've had those moments several times where I'm just like, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. I'm so frustrated. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then a year has passed and I come back around to it, having video proof of having one of those moments. And then I'm just like, I mean, I'm content where I'm at. You know, I'm content with what I'm doing. So, I mean, what's changed? And I feel like maybe it's because I actually have something I'm doing. Because, now granted, Super Mega Crash Brothers has been going on for 3 years. So that was never a thought in my mind to just dismiss that. But I think in that moment, it felt like something was being taken away from me. Something that I loved was just being stripped away from me. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I was just lashing out wherever I could because it was like, why is this one thing that I love doing ending for no reason? Because I still have no reason. That's the worst part about it is I still don't know what happened between me and George.
See, I honestly thought it was just his work schedule became too conflicting with everything.
He never messaged me. I messaged him several times just to talk and be like, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? What's and it's just like radio silence. I don't know what happened. I'm still in the dark.
I hope he's okay then.
Well, I know he's
If it's
okay.
like that, like radio silence. Oh, okay.
Oh, well, I'll say I know he's okay to a point because I know that he has recently deleted his Facebook account because one minute he was there and the next minute he's gone.
That's responsible, actually.
Yeah, no, and that's
Contemplated it every day of my life.
That's fair enough.
Why I don't just do it. Yeah.
But I did take note of that one minute he's there and the next minute he's gone. What was funny is some months after all of that kind of fell apart, my wife ran into his wife in town because we live very, very close to one another. So you'd think, hanging out would be easy.
Right.
And she was just like, yeah, you ought to tell Steven to call him up sometime and hang out. And she's like, he has. He just hasn't responded. And she's like, oh, well, maybe he's not checking his phone. She's like, well, he's reached out, so maybe he should, reach out instead.
Yeah.
And it was just weird. It was just like,
That is strange.
nothing went wrong, but yet somehow I've got a call? What happened?
But see, what I find strange is like, so if he had been, and you didn't get these messages, it seems like a lie.
Could be. Because that was another point of contention we've had.
You didn't change your number or anything, right?
No, my number has been the same for a long time. And another point of contention was something about his wife, not to bash or anything on here, but wondering if maybe she had something to do with it, because her and my wife used to be pretty close, and at some point they drifted apart. Don't know why. And it's just kind of funny that, all of us drifted apart and we have no reasons why. And
And you're also close together. Yeah. Like, I have those same things happen, but like, I get punished because I moved.
Yeah.
So apparently because I moved, that means I'm just like, you just write me off. And then I'm stubborn, so I'm not going to reach out to you anymore either. Because I'm like, well, fine. I'm really cool. And if you've known me since diapers, and if that's how you want to play this, then fine. I found out one of them had been to Chicago twice.
See,
Didn't even tell me. See, now, and I'm not lying when I say diapers. We were all in diapers growing up on the same street together, That was like the last straw when I went, fine, it's done then, right? That's pretty...
Yeah, that's garbage.
That's pretty sealing the deal that you have, like, no intentions of wanting to talk to me anymore.
Yeah.
Don't know what I did either, mind you, other than I moved. I don't live in that town anymore. I know, 5 hours away.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, if you go back to that last episode we did, everything was fine. We'd actually, and this was actually something that I kind of put in the back of my head. I started to wonder if he was kind of getting burnt out on it, maybe. And maybe he just wanted to hang out. But he would never say it.
That could have been the case.
And I wish he would have spoken up about it, because the last time I actually saw him, I just invited him over to hang out. We weren't doing a show. We weren't doing anything. It's like, hey, just come over and we'll hang out and do whatever. And the night ended like everything was fine, but that was just like the end of it.
Aww. It's a shame when people don't want to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, to sit down and have that conversation.
Because I just want to know, if he was done with it, I'm okay. I feel like I would have been able to handle
we
it.
could still be friends, yeah.
I would have been able to handle it better had I known he was just tired of doing it, or maybe he was just burnt out. Perfectly fine. Tell me.
It's a lot of beer.
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine needing a break from all the beer.
Sure. But
Greatly entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was something that I held dear, and it was always something I would tell people. It was like, all these things that I was doing at the time, that's the one thing I truly, honestly loved doing. Like, it was the show I loved
And you could
to
tell.
do. Mm-hmm. It was a
You
lot
could
of fun.
tell. It came across. Yeah.
But even as I was watching it, not to say that I'm going to, so don't take this as an announcement or anything, but it was just like looking at it going, I kind of want to do that again. Just, I mean, not,
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be Port or Nell, even the solo show, but I think the show,
Pint of ale.
yeah, the solo thing, I think what was so difficult about that was just making sure that I had something to talk about, and maybe I didn't know how to.
And it's different when the dynamics changed, because now it's 100% on you, whereas you could kind of rely on the conversation to flow freely between you two, and the drunker you got, the more comedy gold it became.
Sure.
So, you know.
But I did enjoy, when I was watching that one episode, I enjoyed the editing techniques that were going on to kind of keep the energy going, you know?
Yeah.
And that was fun. So it just kind of made me want to kind of do that, play around with it. I don't know. It was just making me miss certain aspects. But then again, as I said, I was trying to figure out, well, why am I not still holding on to that now? And I think it's because I am working on things, even though they're not out there, per se.
Yes.
I mean, this is, but I am working on something, and I'm still busy that I'm not thinking about all this other stuff that I wish I was doing. I am doing something.
that's good.
It's just not there yet. We will get there. We will get there eventually. And I hate, you know what I've actually been trying to think of? I'm trying to think of a trailer in my head.
Oh,
Because as soon as I get the one I'm working on done, which I have fallen behind on because work, I will say that.
Damn it,
I'm a
work.
schmuck. Yeah.
Leave him alone. Let him create. Give him money anyway.
But I'll have 4 episodes to pull from to have footage. Only 2 more left, and I can create a trailer. And I could still create a trailer with that, but I'd like to have all the footage and stuff like that. I might be able to fudge some stuff, but I'm trying to think of a trailer, and I can't. I've got a block. I don't know how to promote it. You know what I mean? I'm stuck.
I don't know. I kind of feel like if you just went super balls out epic, just like, ha, 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 you know, boom, explode, ha, 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 and then maybe somebody screaming, da, 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 and you like coming through or whatever with like the opening sequence when you're like sliding, and then it just gets bigger and bigger with like an orchestra thing. Like, we could totally pay an orchestra. So this is just 100% just spitballing here, because this probably will never happen, you know, without getting DMCA'd or some junk, you know?
Sure.
And just like make it that epic, and then you should have it drawn where like we're, you know, you in the middle and like Todd and I back to back against you, and like you know, and like smoke will come up around our characters, and then we vanish except for Todd because he didn't get the memo. He was supposed to leave when the smoke happened, and then he just kind of dies and then walks off. So you totally have to like reanimate a whole mess of stuff.
Oh yeah,
so you
for
just
sure.
basically got to make a whole new episode for
Thank
me.
you.
Got it? Okay, thanks. You're welcome.
I mean, it wouldn't be all bad to animate a few extra little things just for this, just because. So maybe possibly.
I think in my head, a lot of it you could pull from. You would just have to do that ending thing, you know.
But it's just how to do it.
You guys can't see what I'm doing, but it's totally like my arms are crossed, like the buddy back-to-back kind of system. Yeah.
And they're spinning around.
Or we could do like the Charlie's Angels, like
Oh!
that tried and true trope that's been done a million times. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Because there's 3 of us.
There really is. Yeah.
I have to think about that, too.
Now I'll just complicate the plot more. Or you could do it like a horror.
Okay.
Because you'd like doing amazing voices anyway, so obviously you're already hired for the voiceover for it.
Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
you know. In a world that was, I don't know. That see there with that voice, that seemed so normal. It could just be like, then you know, one of us walking through, never gonna give you up, you know, and everything was fine. Da 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 da, and then you see like, I don't want to give away too much of the stuff that I see, but you know, the thing that happens outside the window.
Oh yeah.
That thing that gets bigger and stuff as things happen and story moves. And so, you know, and then just, you know, maybe make Todd a zombie for one of them, because he would love that.
Sure.
Let's be real.
Oh yeah. He would love that. He wants to be a zombie.
Yeah. So bad. Like, hopefully just to play as one, not like be one, but, you know, you do you, man.
It's Todd. We expect this out of him by now. So
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm thinking. I mean, it's good. It's good stuff. There's a lot there. Maybe I can make a few. Who knows?
Or like a Benny Hill style.
See, now that just sounds great too. For the thing. That's for the other episode. I can't talk. I can't talk about it. Can't talk
I
about
know. See, like we
Okay.
kind of want to, but then you'll hear it. And
it. It's
stuff
fine.
happens.
You'll all get to see it.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. I want to
Yeah.
release it this year, but those last 2 episodes, the more I think about it, I don't think the last episode is going to be that hard. It's going to be longer, I know that. But there were some elements to the 5th episode make me think there's going to be a little time consumption. Don't know that for sure. Just a thought in my head that it might be time consuming. So hopefully not. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So now you just got to make them all
I'm going to try.
for my own amusement and for nothing else, you know. If I knew how to animate, I'd help.
So
I still haven't gotten further in Unity. That's my fault. I've had time, and I've just decided to mope instead.
I mean, if you could animate, my God, what I would give you.
If I just knew anything. Like, I feel like that most days where I'm like, if I just learned anything, I could probably offer so much more help at this and that or the other, you know, just a thing.
I could send you some.
One thing.
I could send you some frames, and then you could just play with them. You know,
Just move them around.
Just
My thing is like, I'll start in one of those things, something will get stuck, and I can't figure out how to unstick it, and then just decide that I've ruined it, and then have to start all over. That's how I fix things. I'll just like delete it and then start over, and it never happened.
why not?
It takes way longer. Don't do it that way. Learn how to fix your mistakes. Don't trash it all.
So I did want to tell you one other thing while I'm thinking about it, and I'm not holding my breath. Let's just say that. But I was a little surprised, and I was like, "Oh, okay, why not? Why not?" So I've been. I think we've discussed this. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast. In fact, I'm very sure I haven't mentioned this on the podcast, but I've been trying to look into some voice acting work because, you know, some people have been nice enough to say that they love my voice, and I still don't understand it, but I'm just like, I'm going with it at this point. You know, I actually went back and watched, it was your video, that interview.
With the rubber chicken?
Not with the rubber chicken. This is the interview you did with Rupert and Anna Rosa. And
Anna Rosa. Nicholas,
yes. Because the Shape-Shifting Detective was coming out, which I played, which I won't talk about because we're not talking about games. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I went back and watched that interview for whatever reason, and then there was that moment in there where Anna Rosa said, "I love your voice," and I'm like, and you can just see me. Yeah.
I love that little scene. And what was funny is I think we were just having that conversation like a week or two prior, where I was listening to, I think, your very first, as I recall it, if I recall it correctly. And I was like, you know what? Like, you have a really good voice for this kind of storytelling. And you were like, that's the one thing I hate about myself. And then when she said it, I wanted to be like, see? I wasn't lying because you're my friend.
I know.
I was telling the truth.
It's a compliments. It's hard for me to take compliments every now and again. Anyway, it was just like, okay. And I just got all dopey about it. But anyway, someone actually invited me to audition for a local project. It was voice acting. And I'm assuming they heard what I sounded like because I do have voice reels attached. So I just responded and I was like, sure, I'd love to, see what you got. So they just sent me a few sides and, said record some things. So I did record that and I sent it to them, and I haven't heard anything thus far. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking that as like,
hey,
it was a weekend.
Honestly, I wish people would understand that too, because like that's one thing I've sat in on so many auditions, and I've done. There's so much talent. There really is. Like there's so many talented people. It's never going to get their due because it's just for whatever reason the stars didn't align properly, But like if you're getting a call back or a call to it, I know it sucks if you don't get it. Like it's disheartening. But my God, I really wish more actors and stuff like that would really lift themselves up, because if you were called back, you were a serious contender. Like you did such a good job that they needed to see you again. Like they had to try to weed people out at this point. So even if you didn't book it, I hope you can find a little shred of happiness in getting a callback, because those are super hard to get. You know how many callbacks I've really had? You know, like they're hard to get for a lot of people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So you should feel elated if you ever get a callback, because that means you were seriously good enough for it. You really were. They just had to go whatever reason they had to come up with, because sometimes they got to make up BS things because everyone is so good that they just got to try to cut people, you know?
I mean, the fact that I was invited to audition was kind of nice, but I didn't put stock in it like this is mine or anything, because I was even thinking after the fact, as I was reading the lines, I was just like, how do I hear this person? And I don't know if that's a good thing for an actor to have. It's just how my brain works. I read the stuff and then I hear a voice and then I just dive in. And I work with the voice I hear. Now, these people may have been wanting the voice they heard on these reels. And then I just kind of took that and tweaked it ever so slightly into this other voice, because I did kind of put a little bit of I won't say an accent per se, but, you know, just kind of like he was from somewhere, you know, he's
I would have made that take 2. Because I always say, like, with a callback, what you did nailed it, and to not deviate too far from that unless they specifically give you a note to was a lot of things, because nobody really has creativity for that stuff anymore.
Right.
And even though, like, you could do a lot of those voices, I may not even be what they're looking for. I think that's still my pet peeve with people who want to get into voice acting. I could do voices. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean anything, people.
No, absolutely not.
It just picks me to death when people ask me about my advice for it. They're like, I could do voices. And I'm like, great. Can you emote and hold an entire conversation for hours in that voice and make it sound believable? Or do you just do the catchphrase?
Sure. And that's
of whatever character, you know. It's like,
and I think that's something
it's still acting.
And that's something I've been trying to do within the auditions that I've done, because let me tell you, I have applied for a lot and got nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out another
business.
approach to it. This again was a one-off that I was like, holy shit, oh cool. But it actually inspired me to audition for another one, which is probably way out of my league. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it.
What's the worst that happens?
Why
You hear
not?
nothing. Oh, well.
And
yeah.
actually, speaking of your rubber chicken, that's what I used. That's what I used.
Great voice, man. I really need to upload that for, like, public consumption. I really do.
Why not?
Like, when Beaver and I were doing that, because it's dumb.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I think you nailed the voice. You nailed exactly what I was hearing in my head, and I'm like, great. This is perfect.
The dumbest things get all the views. We've seen this in action.
This is true. I should just do it. I wish we would have kept up on it. Like, Beaver and I were talking about that. I'm like, my God, we made it like 3 weeks. How him and I even feed ourselves? We've had that joke. Like, we just never remember to do anything. Like, how are we alive? He's like, I know. I have no idea how we're still alive. Doing something, I guess.
But we'll see if it pans out. I don't know. I thought, hey, you know, maybe there's a little light out there. I don't know.
But I think you're doing it the right way. Create your own stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we need to do anymore, because there's just so much out there. Create your own.
Yeah. There was actually a buddy of mine who I probably mentioned on this podcast several times as the inspiration to my podcasting journey. His name's Rick Morgan. He is like what would be the best? I don't want to say podcasting genius, but maybe that's the appropriate term I'm looking for here. He's had so many podcasts, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think he's been trying to find the right one, you know, because I've listened.
Or the one that he's passionate about too.
Exactly.
Like, you know, yeah.
I mean, the very first one he ever did is called the Helming Power Hour. Go check it out if you want to listen about old movies and stuff like that, and two guys chit-chatting about it. It's a unique idea, but there was another one that he did called Short Bus Cinema, and they dig out these really, really, really bad movies and talk about them and just try.
Kind of like a Mystery Science 3000 kind of deal.
Yeah, just bottom of the barrel, just crap that you see here and there. It's like, I know I've seen or heard about this movie, and it's just the worst possible movie. And they try to find something good in it.
Sure, yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, it's a bad movie. So it's kind of like, should you watch it because it's even it's so bad it's good, or is it just terrible that please just avoid it? That kind of thing. That's by far my absolute favorite. And I even told him that because there was another podcast that he does that I was actually a guest, had a guest spot on, and I told them that flat out. I said, that's my favorite one that you do. You know, I love the dynamic. I love the conversation there. But some of the others just haven't worked, and he's yet starting another one that he's trying. And it's a unique idea. And that was just something I was thinking about the other day before he sent me this little sample today. It was just, I was like, you know what? What would be something original in the podcast world? Because so many of them are just people talking about movies and things like that. So I was like, what would be unique? Because it's amazing that we've kind of hit this wall in the podcasting space like we have in movies. You can't tell me that there's not one original idea out there. No, because everybody's talking about everything again.
Everything again, yeah. And we don't know what to do with ourselves anymore. I honestly, if you pick a topic, there's somebody who's doing a podcast on it. Yeah. Probably. It's a very saturated market. And then here we've decided to bullshit for 36 minutes.
We did.
So there you go, guys.
And tell me that you can find this exact conversation on another podcast. Ha-ha! We've broken it.
Do you just like to listen to two people talk about nonsense?
Here we go.
I'm sure there's people who do it.
Probably. We have rambled for so long over our 30-minute mark. I apologize. It was just a lot to talk about. It was a conversation. Yeah. But hey, we'll hit you back next week with what we might have more conversation. We're going to do other things. We've been talking about it. It's just, this is what sounded good at the time. We had conversations. We want to talk to each other. We haven't talked to each other in a while, damn it.
I know, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Other than just like DMs back and forth.
Yeah.
About my day that never went well. Lace is either at a 0 or a 100. There's no in between anymore.
Right. So I hope you've enjoyed these conversations. If you still like them, come back. We might have half of one next week, maybe a shorter one. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows what next week's going to be? It's a random.
It's a surprise, guys. It's a surprise to anybody.
That's right.
Including us.
Next week we could be super random crash pods. There was no creativity in that. I'm sorry. Anyway.
You really want to use the word pod.
I do. Why not?
Damn it.
But anyway.
People don't understand unless you put it in the name.
They won't. We got to spell it out for them. But
anyway.
But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.